Hey guys. Okay, so we are working through, and we are our systems of equations unit. So the second topic is solving systems algebraically. So what we did in Math 10C is solving systems by elimination and by substitution. We're going to be continuing those skills to more complex systems. So either linear quadratic or quadratic system equations as well. All right, so example 1. Solve the system by substitution. So this is going to be a linear quadratic system. So just the general problem that we have with systems of equations is that if I look at this one equation over here, I have, sorry, my thing's not working here. I have two two equations with two equations with two unknowns. So I cannot solve one equation with two unknowns. So what I need to do is get rid of one of these variables. So I'm just going to look at the top equation here, and I'm going to solve this equation for y. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides so that y equals negative 3x minus 9. So what we need to do is we need to take, and now we're going to substitute the top equation, this one, into the bottom equation, like this. Okay, so we are going to plug in negative 3x minus 9 in for this y here. And what that gives us is 4x squared minus x minus 3x minus 9 equals negative 9. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to solve a quadratic equation. So review from our last unit is we need to set one side equal to 0 and factor it. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides, and they're going to cancel out like this. And then negative x minus 3x is going to give me 4x squared minus 4x equals 0. And now I can take out a common factor of 4x out of this equation here. So I get 4x times x minus 1 equals 0. So the way this works, again, it's going to be our zero product property. So if we have two things multiplied by each other, 4x and x minus 1, that equals 0, then either 4x equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. That would mean if I divide both sides by 4, I get x equals 0. If I add 1 to both sides, I get x equals 1. Now, normally, I'd stop here with an x by x values, but what I have here is a system needs to have, a solution to the system needs to have the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So if x equals 0, I'm going to plug that into here. That means y equals negative 3 times 0 minus 9. This is 0 minus 9 is negative 9. So my solution so far, 0, negative 9 is a solution. And if I plug that into over here, so y equals negative 3 times 1 minus 9, negative 3 minus 9 is negative 12. That would be 1, negative 12, like that, okay? So my solution is 0, negative 9, and then 1, negative 12. Okay, so this is how I solve this one by substitution. Now, we're going to look at the exact same equation over here, and we're going to solve it by elimination. Now, if you remember solving by elimination is we're going to either add or subtract two equations together in order to eliminate one of the variables, okay? Now, the trick is over here, you see like I have an x and an x squared in this one over here. Eliminating x is going to be very difficult, but I have a y here and a y here. If I subtract these guys, the y's will disappear, okay? So really, the result is always going to be the same thing, okay? And I'm going to put brackets here. The y minus y is going to eliminate, the idea is we're reducing it down to one equation with one variable in it, okay? And we know how to solve those. Okay, and remember there's no x squared term up here, but if I'm subtracting a 4x squared, it's going to make a negative 4x squared. 3x minus negative x is positive 4x. Y minus y is 0. Negative 9 minus negative 9 is also 0. Okay, similar to what I had in the last equation here, I'm just going to factor out a negative 4x, and I'm left with an x minus 1 equals 0. And now it's the same thing, either negative 4x equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. And that means x equals 0 or x equals 1. Okay, Same thing, now I need to figure out what our y values are. So I was going to come back and I'll use this equation over here. So 3 times 0 plus y equals -9. That means y equals -9. And that's with this x value here. So we have xy equals 0, -9. That's one solution. And if I plug in a 1 here, 3 times 1 plus y equals -9. Subtract 3, y equals -12. And 1, -12. And this is our solution like this. And there's our solution for this system. Okay, so no matter how we did it, either by elimination or by substitution, we still got the same answer. Okay. All right, so over here, we're going to solve this one by elimination. So the idea over here, again, I mean, trying to eliminate x is going to be difficult because I have an x and an x squared in both of them, and the coefficients are all different, so it's not going to work. But we need to just eliminate the y's over here. I have negative y and negative y. So again, we're going to subtract these equations together. And I'm putting brackets here because I want to make sure it's this minus the whole thing. 6x squared minus 4x squared is 2x squared. Negative x minus negative 4x is positive 3x. The y's eliminate. -1 minus -6 is 5. So same thing. So now I'm left with a quadratic equation with one variable here. I'm just going to bring the 5 over. 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. And I'm going to factor this guy. So I believe it's going to work like this. 2x squared minus 2x plus 5x is 3x and -5, so this works over here. So either 2x plus 5 equals 0, that means 2x equals -5, that means x equals -5 over 2, or x minus 1 equals 0, and that means x equals 1. So a bit more work to go figure out what our y value is going to be, but I'm just going to solve the top equation here for y. So I just brought the 1 over here, the y over here, so we get this guy over here. Now we're going to plug in these values over here. I'm going to start with this one because it's going to be easier. Y equals 6 times 1 squared minus 1 plus 1. 6 minus 1 plus 1 is 6. So we get y equals 6. Now for the same thing, y equals 6. I'm going to plug in my -5 over 2 squared. And I'm going to use my calculator for this guy over here. And doing that, I get 41. Okay, so let's put my solutions here. Xy equals 1, 6. And -5 over 2, comma 41. Those are my two solutions to this system over here. Okay, just got a bit of a word problem here. So algebraically determine two integers such that the sum of the smaller number and twice the larger number is 46. Also, when the square of the smaller number is decreased by 3 times the larger, the result is 93. So I'll say x equals smaller number and y equals larger number. All right, so there should be the word and in there, that's all right. Two integers such that the sum of the smaller and twice the larger, x plus 2y. So twice the larger will be 2y, the sum is 46. Sum is adding to this. Also, when the square of the smaller, so that will be x squared, is decreased by 3 times the larger, minus 3y, equals, the result is 93. Okay, so here's the system that we have, and we're going to have to solve it now. Okay, I'm going to choose to solve this one with elimination. So if I want to eliminate the y's here, I'm going to multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 2. That's going to give me a 6y and then a -6y here. So we get 3x plus 6y equals 138. 46 times 3 is 138. I'm going to multiply these guys through, so we get 2x squared minus 6y equals 186. That's going to be this. 93 times 2 is 186. So now, since I have a 6y and a negative 6y, I want to add these guys together. So there's no x squared term here, so we're going to have a 2x squared in the bottom. There's no just x term here, so that plus 3x is going to be there. Equals, now if we add these guys together, I'm going to use my calculator for that. 138 plus 186 is 324. And yikes, we're going to have a nasty one to solve here. Okay, so this is going to be 2x squared plus 3x minus 324 equals 0. Okay, now overall, this is a pretty nasty one to have to try to factor. Okay, so I'm not going to try to factor this one. I'm just going to go straight to my quadratic formula. So review for that, we have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals, so here's my a, here's my b, negative 324 is my c value. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 324 over 2 times 2. I'm just going to figure out what this value is in my calculator here. 3 squared is 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 324 is 2601. Yikes, nasty number there. Square root of 2601 is 51. That's very nice. Equals negative 3 plus or minus 51 over 4. So my first solution, x1, is negative 3 plus 51 over 4. This is going to be 48 over 4, which is 16. Okay, so x1 is 16. x2 is negative 3 minus 51 over 4. Negative 54 divided by 4 is negative 13.5. So in this question over here, the key word is the word integers. Okay, so integers means positive or negative whole numbers. So that means we're only going to be dealing with the value of 16 over here. We don't need to worry about this decimal over here. Okay. All right. So if we figure out my x value is 16, I'm going to come back over here to figure out what this y value is here. So I'm going to plug in 16 in for the x to my first equation, and we get 16 plus 2y equals 46. Subtract 16 from both sides. 2y equals 30. Divide by 2, we got y equals 15. Okay, so the answer is the smaller number is, so y is going to be 15 and x is going to be 16. Hope that makes sense, guys.